Welcome to another edition of Cattle Chatter. I'm Susan Littlefield. Extreme cash strength. If I could have foreseen what we were going to be talking about last week for this week, I think everybody would have called our BS on this. What a craziness that we are having within this market trade today. We're going to break it all down and really talk about how this has surpassed a lot of expectations, even expectations of Brad Kooima. As I mentioned, it is Brad Kooima with Kooima, and Varilek out of Sioux Center, Iowa. As we look at this cattle complex, did you think even a week ago we'd have seen the type of trade action we're seeing today?
No. First of all, thanks for having me on. I enjoy this a lot. No, and I'd like to think that that I've been as optimistic as anyone for the last several months. This was a volcano that we had been prepping for maybe 7 years or more because of this massive liquidation and the cycle that we're in the cattle and taking this cow herd down. Anyway, we've gone over that a million times, but I can remember you and I doing these programs and I'd say, I think we could go to 220. And I think people thinking that I had, hit my head on the threshold or something here, and I'm not tall enough to hit it on anything very high. So yes, so as an analyst, I can only kind of roll with the punches a little bit, Susan. The market shows no signs of letting up. The fundamental stuff that I care about the most, in my opinion, are all very, very bullish. I've said it over and over, and I got made fun of by somebody this week, and I just smiled. I thought, yeah, go ahead, believe what you want, but I believe that the beginning and the end of all markets is start up here in the north, and we don't have them. We're so current here. It's 2014 like, okay, where we're selling cattle ahead because we love the price, and the futures market are telling you to sell it. The futures are a big discount. So if you're a hedger, you can't wait to go. Plus you haven't got in on these big prices. I mean, I can go on and on about what the guts of the market are here. And there was a lot less cattle than what, some people thought anyway. And, is the USDA perfect with their numbers on cattle and feed reports? They're trying, they're good people, but I would say their methodology in a market like this was probably off a little bit because we pulled these cattle forward so far. And we're still doing it. We're pulling them forward all the way out to a 300-pound calf that somebody wants to give you, $1,700 or $1,800 for. So I'm trying to figure out a little bit the last couple of days now. How do I help a customer from here? Because it's we're in the rafters. I know that. We were talking off air, and I don't know if this is a good. I don't know if this is a good metaphor. Or maybe that's not even the right word. My wife's an English teacher. She'll probably correct me later. But it does feel like we're late in this process, right? I mean, that's the. Is it the fourth quarter of a football game, or is it like stoppage time of a soccer game? Stoppage time, if you don't know what a soccer game is, that's when the referee kind of arbitrarily decides that, well, I think we'll put 5 minutes on here or 4 minutes or whatever. And nobody really knows exactly when the game's going to end, it feels like, if you're a fan. And I think that part's accurate with the cattle thing. Folks, don't forget what happened here Tuesday with that rumor of a plant closing. Don't forget what happened the Tuesday before with the rumor about a screwworm deal. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with the buy puts, but stay bullish. If you're a hedger, I don't know what we could have done to act better today. A phenomenal day futures wise.
What a great way to talk, though, as we look at these numbers that are happening. You talk about those rumors, though, and I mean, that whole buy the rumor, sell the fact kind of seems to be weighing in. Is that something this cattle market's going to lob onto even more because of the uncertainty that we have in these extreme prices?
Next week, it'll be 45 years of doing this, Susan, and there's always been that buy the rumor, sell the fact, like you just referred to, that what did you hear type thing that you get in the marketplace, but it has never been worse because of social media. All right. X, Facebook, Snap, whatever it is, your methodology is. I mean, it is so easy for somebody to throw something out there. And there was one yesterday. I'm not even going to repeat it because it was so ridiculous. But that what it isn't there a joke? Well, saw it on the internet. It must be true, right? I mean, we are more vulnerable than we ever have before to that sort of thing. And I don't think I'm telling anybody that's something that they don't already know, but that's out there. So that leads to a thing for me that I'm going to take a little license here with you. I'm sorry. But so now this week we raised the daily limits, which I think is a very bad idea. Because of the very thing we're talking about, this volatility, this suddenly now we can go down $7.25 on a live cattle contract in a day. The other thing that I hope this is just a dumb idea that's getting floated. There is some talk that they're considering 24-hour trading on cattle. Now this is a very bad idea for some of the reasons I just tried to explain. How about 2:00 in the morning if somebody comes up with some unsubstantiated rumor? 100 lot will change the market by a couple of dollars. I please cool our heads. There is no reason to trade cattle 24 hours a day. None. In fact, if it happens, I'm going to retire, and I mean it. There is just no way that is a good thing for anyone.
So sorry. No, you're good, because I mean, this is something that cattlemen are talking about. Hadn't we tried that once before and it didn't work? So why are we trying it again? They think
I'm not sure if I dare to. Okay, I'm going to. I think.
Go for it.
I think that I worry that the industry is starting to, and I'm talking about the people that make the rules, that are catering more to funds, algorithms, HFTs, and have lost track of where the market beginnings really were, and that was to allow a producer a vehicle to offset risk. And the algos love volatility, right? You and me, not so much. If you have a bigger daily limits, the funds can have bigger positions. That's the way the rules work. The more volatility, the more people get scared, the more it feeds into this HFT type structure where boom, where you get these violent ricochet almost type markets. That's my own personal theory. I have, what do I know? But I think this is the hand we're dealt. I don't want to sound like the old guy here. We got to be able to adapt. I still think we have to speak out when we see things that, we got boots on the ground out here. We're not sure this is a great idea. I don't like the fact that the increased margin or the increasing limits will probably also increase margins, and that'll chase some more people away from the market. But anyway, I went too long on that little soapbox. But markets are unbelievably fun. I mean, this is a historical deal that we won't see in a long time.
So do you believe herd rebuilding is truly starting then out in the country?
I think I'm going to say yes, but not like it did in 15 and 16. It's by jerks and it's regionalized. I think that area, this last round of weather now has made a difference. I think for some people, 10 days, it's given them the courage, like across some of the areas of Dakotas, and maybe, I apologize. Let me put my phone on silent here. Particularly areas like west of you that have been especially and particularly dry. And I know that one rain doesn't, solve all the problems, but I think it's maybe going to give some of these guys some courage to take a crack at it. Right. So I think across the north, we're seeing some of it, but it's slower than it's ever been before, which would match up with the slowest liquidation phase that we've ever had before. So slow retention, tight numbers as far as the eye can see. That's why it's probably some kind of a non-cattle event that'll top the market, Susan. It's not because you're going to have too many cattle here, not in the short term anyway.
Just to reiterate kind of what we've been talking about as we move into this next week, we're now into the summer where we should see more grilling opportunities, all that happening. As a cattleman, what should we be thinking about? What is our focus besides watching the constant green tick on the screen and watching these prices at the sale barns?
Well, if you're a fundamentalist like I am, obviously I follow charts because you couldn't afford not to, right? Right. But the thing that I think I'm trying to get double down on is is like last week's kill, the record low kill for a week, right? For that week. Are we killing the available supply or are we not? So you balance that with what average weights are doing, which by the way, the average weights are up 4 pounds from last week. this is the time of year where a couple of things typically happen. Our average weights bottom as we start to get more days on the calves, and the other thing that happens on the boxes is the box beef tops, because we're past the Mother's Day, Memorial Day. They've got everything bought for Father's Day already, and we start to shift that middle meat feature to a hamburger hot dog type feature, right? But the biggest thing to me is if we lose leverage, and we're so far from it right now that I don't want to pretend that I'm trying to suggest that that's happening. But if you start to see those weights really come back, and then find out that we in fact haven't killed enough cattle for a while, all of a sudden, that's 2015 in a nutshell. What happened to us there? All of a sudden, we weren't current, we didn't have leverage, and we became price takers and back to the old stuff instead of doing what we're doing now. So I don't think it's right now. I could see a scenario maybe by after 4th of July, but even at that, things have to kind of fall into place that I'm not really seeing yet. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll do my best, but I'm not going to know either. Trust me, nobody will, and I certainly won't either.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation next week to see what this market does once again. Best way for folks to get a hold of you guys?
kkbtrading.com. I'll tell you about us at least. The phone number is 712-722-0023.
And that, folks, another edition of Cattle Chatter.
The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading.